What a week. Again, here we are, John, on a Friday.
I can't believe we make it every week.
Every single week. We should do this every single day, I think, because there's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the news cycle is insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about President Trump and the NFL protest situation that keeps coming back over and over and over. But let's start locally. Wayne Chapman, convicted pedophile, was supposed to be released from prison because some psychologist said he was no longer a sexual threat. Right. Some new allegations come out, and he's now facing new charges, so not so fast here. Now the governor's weighing in, AG talking about new legislation. What's your take on this whole situation?
Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the politics of this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a gift from heaven to the Baker re-election campaign. He has been very adamant about this is an atrocity, this guy should never be let out. He's pushing now to change the law, and I think he's going to find a lot of takers for that in the legislature, because to the average person, or really anybody with common sense, the notion that two psychologists could sit down for a couple hours tops with a guy who, by his own account, may be linked to over 100 child rapes, and say, oh, yeah, well, he's old and he's a little sick. He's not a threat to anybody. In the meantime, the allegation you referred to is that he was in the prison hospital and he exposed himself to a nurse. I mean, come on. This is the kind of story that infuriates people, and that's why I think you're seeing Charlie Baker so front and center railing against it.
When you see Maura Healey, Attorney General, she's jumping on board too,
Absolutely.
saying let's go with this. So this is really, you'd have to be kind of crazy as a politician to go against something like a stricter law.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for a politician, and as a citizen, I'd like to hear more about these psychologists whose approval of release is, as the SJC recently ruled, that's tantamount to a slam dunk. There's nothing you can do about it if they get the sign-off. Who are these people? How are they screened? Apparently, it's been reported one of the psychologists who examined Chapman had also let out another guy, a convicted rapist, who then proceeded to rape again. Can't be having that. Yeah,
no, definitely not. So let's talk about national level. So we're talking about these National Anthem protests. It's been a hot topic, hot button issue. This morning we did a story about it, talking about a new poll that came out and really shows it's split. Americans are very split on this issue, whether it's free speech or yes, you should stand and show respect. President Trump keeps bringing this issue up, and it seems like it goes away for a little bit, then he says something to drum it back up. So what's your take on this?
Well, we talked about the Chapman case being a gift from heaven for Charlie Baker. This issue is right in the wheelhouse of President Trump and his core support, his base, on a number of levels. Now, I don't want to start name-calling. Calling someone a racist is a very serious charge and should be weighed judiciously and carefully. But come on, let's be candid. When the only two pro sports that he regularly goes out of his way to criticize, the NFL in this case and also the NBA, are the two pro sports that are predominantly populated by people of color. You know, the math isn't that complicated to see what's going on here. It's a big-time dog whistle for some elements of his base to be criticizing these black players, mostly black, not all. And you bring in the patriotism element, and that also rings a bell with, I think, even more people. So it's all about politics. It's all about keeping the base held closely to Trump. And it's cynical. It's divisive, but, you know, that's the nature of our politics today, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting this morning when he was on his way up to the G7, he started talking about it and said, you know, I want players in the NFL to reach out to my committee to talk about, you know, if there's someone you know that needs a pardon or needs clemency, something like that, and kind of bringing that whole issue into it. It's just a new, is it a new twist on an old issue that he keeps bringing up?
Well, you know, that's a very interesting point you raised, because when you factor in the the pardon by the president of that African-American woman who was serving a long drug sentence. Now, just today as we're taping, he's talking about a posthumous pardon from Muhammad Ali, who doesn't need one because his conviction was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. But you almost see President Trump playing the race card on the NFL kneeling story, but then trying to soften it by saying, hey, I'm doing more for black people than President Obama ever did. That's a phrase he likes to turn. if I told you I really, truly understand what's up with him, I'd be lying, so I won't.
All right, so that means we're going to have to stay tuned, wait, watch, and see what happens,
Exactly.
right?
Keep your eyes wide open.
All right.
Yeah.
What a week in politics.
It's always unbelievable. I can't believe the weekend finally arrives, but inevitably it does.
And it's going to be a nice one, too, John.
Thank goodness for that.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chris.
it. Thanks for checking in with us. We'll see you next week.